The sky above the barren planet of Xylath 9 burned a harsh crimson as plasma bolts streaked overhead, searing the air with their heat. A massive alien dragon, easily the size of a star freighter, roared, its voice echoing like 1,000 thunderclaps. It was a monstrosity of sharp scales, gnashing teeth, and glowing eyes that pierced the soul. Known across the galaxy as Karakthar, the harbinger of death, this creature had devastated countless worlds. And standing in its path was a single human, clad in a scuffed white medic uniform, holding a first aid kit. Dr. Elise Taryn adjusted her cracked goggles, brushing ash off her sleeves. Her medical drone, a spherical bot nicknamed Patch, hovered nervously behind her, emitting a low whine. "Well, Patch," she muttered, watching Karakthar's molten breath vaporize a chunk of rock nearby. This wasn't in the job description. The dragon fixed its blazing gaze on her, a low rumble emanating from its chest. It didn't bother with a roar this time. It was certain this puny human would break under its presence alone. But Elise didn't flinch. "Look, big guy, I get it. You're angry, you've got a reputation, blah blah," she said, waving her hand dismissively. "But here's the thing. I'm not here to fight you. I'm here to help." The dragon tilted its massive head, momentarily stunned by her audacity. Elise reached into her kit, pulling out a vial of glowing green serum. "You're limping, aren't you? That back leg of yours? Torn muscle fibers, I guess. Probably from when you crushed that battleship on Kepler-14. Impressive work, by the way." Karakthar's eyes narrowed. How could this fragile creature know? It had taken care to mask its injury, not letting any predator, or prey, sense weakness. Yet here she stood, nonchalantly diagnosing it. "Yeah, I read the reports," Elise continued, crouching slightly as if addressing a cranky toddler. "Anyway, you're gonna let me fix that? Or are you planning to limp through your next rampage?" For a moment, the dragon hesitated. The battlefield around them fell eerily silent. Soldiers and alien combatants peeked out from cover, watching the absurd scene unfold. Then Karakthar roared again, this time with a deep, guttural defiance. Flames erupted from its jaws, but Elise was already rolling to the side, her movements quick and practiced. "Patch, distract him," she barked. The drone zipped forward, projecting a hologram of a second Elise waving enthusiastically. The dragon snapped at it, momentarily confused. Elise sprinted toward its injured leg, narrowly dodging a swipe of its tail that cratered the ground where she'd stood. Her heart hammered in her chest, but adrenaline kept her focused. She reached the leg and jabbed the serum into the bulging muscle. The vial emptied with a hiss, and Karakthar froze. "What did you do to me?" Its voice rumbled through her mind, the words alien yet intelligible. Elise smirked. "Relax, big guy. It's just a painkiller and tissue regenerator. You'll be good as new in no time." The dragon stared at her, bewildered. For the first time in its millennia of existence, someone had approached it without fear or malice. It wasn't sure whether to annihilate her or thank her. Elise leaned against a rock, wiping sweat from her brow as Karakthar loomed nearby, its immense body curled like a resting serpent. Around them, the battlefield had grown still. No one dared make a move. Patch beeped cheerfully. "Patient stabilized," it announced in its sing-song robotic voice. Karakthar let out a snort, sending a puff of smoke into the air. "You're an odd creature, human." "I get that a lot," Elise replied, popping open a protein bar. "Want some?" She held it up, realizing immediately how ridiculous the gesture was. The dragon raised a scaly brow. "What exactly are you doing here?" Karakthar asked, its voice softer now, though still resonant. "This is no place for a healer." Elise shrugged. "Someone's gotta patch up the idiots running headfirst into plasma fire. Plus, I didn't exactly sign up for this war." My transport got shot down on my way to a medical conference. The dragon tilted its head. And yet you face me without fear. Well, fear doesn't stop bleeding or set broken bones, she said with a grin. Besides, you're not as scary as some of my patients. Ever treated a hangry space miner with a broken rib? Terrifying. To her astonishment, Karakthar rumbled a sound that could almost be described as a chuckle. The soldiers watching from afar exchanged bewildered glances. Was the infamous harbinger of death laughing? Elise took a bite of her protein bar, savoring the surreal moment. So, what's your deal anyway? Why all the destruction? Midlife crisis? Bad breakup? Karakthar growled, but there was no malice in it. I am a force of nature, human. A reminder of the galaxy's fragility. Yeah, very poetic, Elise said, waving her hand. But seriously, is it fun? Blowing stuff up, making everyone hate you? The dragon paused, caught off guard by the question. Fun? It had never considered that. Its existence had always been about power, survival, dominance. But now, faced with this infuriatingly casual human, it found itself questioning everything. The uneasy truce between Elise and Karakthar didn't last long. A squad of alien soldiers, emboldened by the dragon's inaction, launched a surprise attack. Plasma bolts rained down, and Elise barely had time to dive for cover. Karakthar roared, rising to its full, terrifying height. The ground shook as it unleashed a torrent of flame, scattering the attackers like leaves in a hurricane. Guess we're on the same side now, Elise muttered, scrambling to her feet. Patch evac plan. The drone projected a holographic map, marking the nearest safe zone. But as Elise studied it, Karakthar spoke again. You are under my protection. She blinked. Thanks, but I don't think your new friends got the memo. The dragon snarled, its eyes blazing. Then they will learn. What followed was chaos and hilarity. Karakthar swatted aside tanks like toys, all while grumbling about ungrateful mortals. Elise, meanwhile, darted around the battlefield, dodging fire and administering aid to wounded soldiers, both human and alien. At one point, Karakthar scooped her up in its massive claw to shield her from an explosion. You are more trouble than you're worth, human, it growled. Ah, you do care. Elise teased, patting the claw. By the time the battle ended, the alien forces had retreated, and Karakthar stood victorious. Elise sat on a boulder, exhausted but triumphant. You know, she said, looking up at the dragon, you're not half bad when you're not incinerating everything. Karakthar huffed, a plume of smoke curling from its nostrils. And you are insufferable, yet admirable. Elise grinned. High praise from the galaxy's deadliest dragon. The two of them, an unlikely duo, shared a moment of quiet amid the ruins. For the first time in its existence, Karakthar felt something foreign, respect for a human. And maybe, just maybe, a glimmer of something else.